old-fashioned faces.
The Unitarian Universalist minister Max Kutz once wrote, "We need a celebration that speaks the spring-inspired word about life and death, about us as we live and die through all the cycling seasons, days, and years. We need the sense of deity to crack our own hard brown December husks and push life out of the inner tombs of our outer pain. Unless we move the seasons of the self and spring can come for us, the winter will go on, and Easter will remain a myth, and life will never come again, despite the fact of spring." Today is Easter Sunday, a day of hope and resurrection, both literal and metaphorical, a celebration of new life. And this year, Easter falls also on Trans Day of Visibility, another day where we celebrate transformation, liberation, of something new being born in us. And so, as we enter into this day of transformation and change, I hope you can feel that energy moving through you. And let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, "Morning Has Broken." It's not number 145 in your gray hymnal. It's number 38 in the gray hymnal. I invite you to remain risen for our chalice lighting and then covenant.
Today's chalice lighting words are titled, "Like the First Hint of Green" by Jennifer McLaughlin. As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem forms into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day, to form a yellow daffodil. Let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space. Now we will recite our covenant in both English and in Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church.
The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant. La doctrina de esta iglesia es el amor. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir humanidad en comunión. Este es nuestro pacto.
So sorry. I don't know how that happened. Good morning. I am David Early, and it is my sincere honor to be your worship associate for today's service. My pronouns are he and him. Please silence your cell phones if you have not done so already. I thought I did. Got to close every single app before you put the phone in your pocket. We appreciate you keeping your mask on during the service. This is Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church, named for the great American transcendentalist, writer, and Unitarian minister Ralph Waldo Emerson. We are an inclusive, active, liberal religious community that has been part of the West Valley for 70 years this year. We are brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers. We are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spirituality, but aligned in our desire to make a difference for the common good. We are proud to stand on the side of love, justice, and peace. We think for ourselves and recognize that life experience significantly influences our beliefs. On the forefront of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer inclusion for decades, we are people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. We welcome you, your whole self, with all your truths and your doubts, your worries and your hopes. I am very pleased that you are all here in person and online for worship this morning. We acknowledge that our church is on land forcibly taken from those who have called it home for thousands of years, land originally and still inhabited by and cared for by the Tongva, Quiche, Chumash, and Tataviam peoples. This land remains part of their enduring identity and heritage. We recognize that these tribes are fortunately still here, and we are committed to honoring their stories, culture, and community. Our existence as a spiritual community is validated by recognizing the depth of the loss of their land in generations past and the enduring hopes for the continued vitality of these lands and cultures in years to come. A little more than 10 years ago, I was going through some serious personal adversity. I had not been in an organized religion for some decades. I was in a tomb of non-belief, not wanting to emerge. After enough discussions with my sister Mary, now the Reverend Dr. Mary Early-Zald, ordained Unitarian Universalist minister, about Unitarian Universalism, I was ready to join a UU church because I was seeking a welcoming group of people who shared my values and sensibilities as the path to a new start for me, getting my life and mind to a place of contentment and inner peace. In April 2014, I discovered that Emerson was the best place for me to let the stone of my tomb be rolled away and engage fully in a liberal and inclusive spiritual community, coming into the light of this church as we express it every Sunday in our covenant. I embraced my new religious home and started my path to being the proud and committed UU that I am today. We gratefully welcome all who are joining us either in person or online for the first or second time. If you are joining us in worship for the first time, we invite you to fill out your information in the online guest book document in the chat or the guest book in the foyer for those of you here in the sanctuary, so you may be informed about future services and other opportunities for gathering with the Emerson community during the week and after services. We also have an excellent website that is updated regularly with church information. If you'd like to have a joy or sorrow read aloud later in the service during our embracing meditation, those of you in Zoom can submit it by clicking on the link, which is in the chat. Those of you in the sanctuary, if you haven't done so already, you may write a joy or concern or sorrow in the book of life behind the piano in a moment when we greet our neighbors. We will be gathering in the pavilion beyond those sliding doors there to my right for refreshments and conversation after the service. Everyone online is invited to join in our virtual coffee hour in Zoom after the service for fellowship and conversation. So speaking of fellowship, in the spirit of building community, let's greet our neighbors for a few minutes. Oh, fixing the hair.
You know, they still look. It's gonna be tomorrow. So this past week, so they did the biopsy and they said, I can't remember what was going on this week. What went on this week? I went down there and I think they just said, okay, now we're doing the consult somehow. I can't remember why we didn't do it this week. I'm like, really? So anyway, they promised this next week. So I know it was. Biopsy results too. And I didn't want to start on Wednesday because that messes up days. So I said, I gotta have this way. What I planned is what I got planned. So that's what it was. The biopsy results did come in time for them. Anyway, it's a lot of paper. So, yeah, it was really, yes. So tomorrow is when they're going to do it. Well, that's for sure. That's right. So instead we went down to
Pardon my script.
went to the zoo.
It is good to be together this morning. I'm Reverend Matthew McHale, and my pronouns are he and him. And of course, today, as is mentioned, is Easter, and it's also Trans Day of Visibility. And I have a story for you called Neither. It's by Airlie Anderson. And one of the things, I was just thinking about it, it's a story that has some things that we often see on Easter. Obviously, bunnies, but also the little chicks. I was thinking of the little peeps, the little tiny mushroom, or not mushroom, marshmallow. Yeah, mushroom peeps. Those are really tasty if you've never had one. So, Once upon a time, there were two kinds, this and that. These and those. One or the other until... Honk! What kind are you? I'm both. You can't be both. You must be neither. I'm neither? Neither tried to play this game. You can't play with us. You're not rabbity enough. Neither tried to play that game. You can't play with us. You're not birdie enough. Why don't you find somewhere else? You're not one of us. You're neither. Neither, neither, neither. Where did you come from? I'm from the land of this and that, but I'm neither, so I'm looking for somewhere else to fit in. This isn't somewhere else, but you will fit in here. Where is here? The land of all. So many different kinds. Come play with us. But I'm different from everyone here. I'm neither red, nor orange, nor yellow, nor blue. Exactly. You do have a rainbow. Excuse us, we're from the land of this and that, but we don't fit in at home, and we're looking for somewhere else. Now, I was looking at this picture several times, and it took me a second to realize that the bird has some blue dots on it, and the bunny has a little swirl on its tail, just a little bit different. You said I should go somewhere else. Well, this isn't somewhere else. This is the land of all, and everyone fits in here. Once upon a time, there were many kinds, this and that, somewhat and whatnot, either, very, sort of, just, rather, a little, neither, and both. And all were welcome. The end. Now, I love that story. Obviously, this one's about animals, but this also kind of a metaphor to be about, well, various things, but in particular, one of the things we're talking about with Transgender Day of Visibility is people who don't fit necessarily on the binary of, there's boys and girls. And so this story, I really love it because it's about the fact that there can be all sorts of different things in between. And there's so many different ways, and some might be known as trans or also non-binary. And so we celebrate people of all genders in this church. And now I invite you to join me in saying our Unitarian Universalist affirmation. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands. One of the ways we live out our Unitarian Universalist value of generosity is by sharing the collection plate each week. This month, we are sharing with the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, whose Gaza Relief and Recovery campaign aims to address urgent humanitarian needs and support long-term recovery efforts in Gaza. The funds raised will primarily focus on immediate relief, including providing essential medical supplies, food, medical treatment, clean water, and other necessities for families affected by the conflict. The campaign, in the longer term, will also support rebuilding healthcare facilities and offer trauma counseling, mental health support, and other initiatives for children affected by the conflict. You can donate online via the Breeze mobile app or at donate.emersonuuc.org and selecting Sunday offering. If you're writing a check, please make it out to Emerson UUC or EUUC and write "Share the Plate" in the memo. Our offerings will now be gratefully received.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Our first reading this morning is called "Winter and the Tomb" by Eric Walker Wickstrom. The story has been told in so many ways. The story of the seasonal cycle from springtime through autumn to winter. It's the story of Persephone's descent into the underworld. It's the story of Osiris's death at the hands of his brother Set. It's the phoenix dying in a blaze of fire, and it's Jesus on the cross and in the tomb. Of course, these mythological stories exist not just to explain how the world works out there, but also how it works in here. So these are also the stories of you and me. You and me when our relationships falter or fail. You and me when our worries about making ends meet keeps us up at night. You and me when depression clouds our souls. You and me when concern for the world leaves us immobilized. You and me when one we love dies. You and me as we face our own mortality. These stories of the coming of winter, these stories of death and despair are not just stories from some faraway people in some faraway time. They are our stories. And while we may want to rush from cross to resurrection, from the first flurry of snow to the first spring blossom, it is important that we spend some time here. For each of us has what Sarah Moores Campbell calls a tomb of the soul, in which we carry secret yearnings, pains, frustrations, loneliness, fears, regrets, and worries. To gloss over them, to ignore this place and this season is not to rid ourselves of it, but to ensure that we come back here again and again and again, like an injury left untreated that flares up each time worse than the last. Douglas John Hall has written, "It is the propensity of religion to avoid precisely suffering, to have light without darkness, vision without trust and risk, hope without an ongoing dialogue with despair. In short, Easter without Good Friday. Perhaps the poet Wendell Berry put it most succinctly: to go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. And if we are to honor life, not just the wonder of it, but the whole of it, not just the triumph, but its truth, then we must learn to honor, even embrace, both winter and the tomb.
This responsive reading is Rolling Away the Stone by Sarah Campbell. I will read the words in normal type, and you'll respond with the words in italics. In the tomb of the soul, we carry secret yearnings, pains, frustrations, loneliness, fears, regrets, worries. In the tomb of the soul, we wrap ourselves in the security of darkness. Sometimes it is a comfort, sometimes it is an escape. Sometimes it prepares us for our experience. Sometimes it insulates us from life. Sometimes this tomb life gives us time to feel the pain of the world and reach out to heal others. Sometimes it numbs us and locks us up with our own concerns. In this season where light and dark balance the day, we seek balance for ourselves. Grateful for the darkness that has emerged us, we push away the stone and invite the light to awaken us to the possibilities within us and among us, possibilities for new life in ourselves and in our world.
We come with many different experiences. Some of us feel like we are in that tomb right now. Some of us may be experiencing moments of joy. And each week we take time in our service to lift up those joys and sorrows from within our community and in the wider world. This morning in our Book of Life, Adam Nissenholtz writes, "My father Bernard, who is 89, has just been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Please keep him and our family in your thoughts." Two welcome backs. No name was attached, but we welcome Margaret, our dependable kitchen maven, back, who, after recovering well from her eye surgery. And welcome back also Jenny Marjoram, one of our, I think at this point, longest standing Emersonians, for joining us here today along with her daughter. Lexi writes that Charlotte Green had the audacity to turn 7 last Wednesday in spite of her mother's many requests to stop growing up so fast. Lynn Prager writes that she and Marty are looking forward to their trip this Wednesday by train to San Antonio, Texas, to see the eclipse, but most importantly, to visit her cousin and his wife. They have not seen each other in 40 years, as they were always prevented by work. She's in the schools and he and his wife in the hospital. In our virtual Book of Life, Susan Siskin asks to please hold light and love for her sister Doris, who will have a blockage cleared from her carotid artery on Tuesday. And Nicole writes, a joy. I just found out a dear friend is in person at Emerson today, so I wanted to give a shout out to them. I'm so glad you are here. And as we extend our compassion out to the wider world, let us also hold in our hearts the people of Baltimore, Maryland, who experienced a tragic accident which destroyed a major bridge, killed 6 construction workers, and disrupted many, many more lives. Let us also hold in our hearts the transgender and non-binary folks in our community, our state, our nation, and our world who are facing increasing hostility and deserve supportive care and access to medical treatment, housing, educational opportunities, and more. Let us hold in our hearts those living in war zones in Gaza and Sudan and Ukraine and other places riven by violence. Finally, let us hold in our hearts our Jewish neighbors who celebrated Purim last week, our Hindu neighbors who celebrated Holi this past week, our Muslim neighbors who are in the middle of their holy month of Ramadan, and our Christian neighbors who are culminating their celebration of Holy Week today with Easter. In a moment, I'm going to sound this singing bowl, and after I do, I invite you to speak into this space aloud or type into the chat any joys or sorrows, any names or occasions that are on your heart this morning and that you would like lifted up into this community in this, our embracing meditation. All that has been shared and all that we hold in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, we offer these into the embrace of this community. Let us now enter into a time of centering, a time to take a few deep breaths and pay attention to the whispers of our tender hearts with these words from the Reverend Sarah Lawal. Spirit of life and love, God of many names and beyond all naming, force of love. Hear our prayer this Easter morning as we roll back the stone covering the most tender places of our hearts, holding the pain of the world, of our own lives, the disappointment pushing down upon us with trembling hands and weary spirits. May we feel the light of love pour forth and know we are not alone. May we feel the call to reach in and bring that love out into the world in full force, even if we are not sure what that looks like. Even if we are afraid, even if the world feels like it's breaking, the chasm widening, even if may we feel the hope and possibility of new life. Creation remade again and again with our help, with our hands and feet and eyes and ears, with our prayers and fellowship and justice making, with hugs and laughter, beauty and joy and tears, all of it tangled up together. May we be the light of the world. May love prevail. In the name of all that is holy. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. I now invite you to join me in singing Becoming by Mary Gregolia. If you know it, you're invited to keep your eyes closed if you feel.
I am who I'm becoming. I am all I have done. I am what I am dreaming. I've only just begun. I am who I'm becoming. I am all I have done. I am what I am dreaming. I've only just begun.
You are.
You are who you're becoming. You are all you have done. You are who you're dreaming. You've only just begun. You are who you're becoming. You are all you have done. You are what you are dreaming. You've only just begun.
We are.
We are who we're becoming. We are all we have done. We are what we are dreaming. We've only just begun. We are who we're becoming. We are all we have done. We are what we are dreaming. We've only just begun.
You may have heard that one of the latest controversies in the so-called culture wars is that some conservatives are up in arms about the fact that Trans Day of Visibility is the same day as Easter, stealing or perhaps even spoiling the holiday, willfully ignoring the fact that Trans Day of Visibility has been on March 31st for the past 15 years, and it is in fact Easter, which is taking place on Trans Day of Visibility and not the other way around. But frankly, rather than being in conflict. In some ways, I think it's the perfect fit. I see many parallels in the experience of trans and non-binary people to the experience of resurrection, of something old needing to die so that something new can be born. A transformative experience, and yet an experience that is not necessarily an easy one, a very challenging one that requires us to go into the tomb to experience that sense of loss before the tomb can be rolled back and something new is born. M. Jade Kaiser, who's the co-founder of Enfleshed, which is an organization that creates spiritual resources for collective liberation through writing, art, contemplative practices, and other creative resources, writes, "The way it begins as a child, the right to call into question the very things they call natural or innate or fixed, those stale assumptions that have been woven into every aspect of everything, we take that thread, we undo it. And yes, so much falls apart," they write. "The way we let change work its magic in us, language, bodies, names, perceptions, resisting the illusion of control, we surrender to the gifts of all that wishes to unfold, unfurl, unbecome. Even beloved things, even scary things, even when it means there will be loss. Our lives are a testament to what can flourish in letting go, in refusing to play the games, in climbing out of the confines of the expected and moving willfully into the lands of strange, wild, unruly. Maybe all this is why we are hated. The way we exercise creation, the way we learn to love ourselves, the way we practice metamorphosis, recreating ourselves from the inside out, according to our own desires, for the sake of our survival and each other's. The way our lives rewrite some of the oldest stories, and how this points to the power of all of us, of everything that we wish to undo. And all this, I would say, bad faith controversy in many cases, also brings up the idea, makes me think about, well, on this Easter Sunday, one of the most important days in the Christian tradition, arguably the most important day, to think about who would Jesus be for? The man who ministered to those considered outcasts of society, lepers, tax collectors, sex workers, foreigners. Would Jesus not also be ministering to trans folk and not the people who sought to condemn them? Jesus, who said that the least of these are the ones who are closest to the divine, most able to receive God's love and compassion. And we are living at a time when trans and non-binary folks are under increasing attack. I remember several years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, talking about how amazed I was at the fact that how much shift there had been happened, how quickly for trans and non-binary folks compared to many of the other justice movements, and how hopeful that was, not knowing, perhaps naively, at the backlash that was coming. And so at this time, when states are banning gender-affirming care, threatening to put take parents' children away from them for giving them the care that doctors say is actually medically what's best for them. That states are doing this, are going in so many ways after the rights of trans and non-binary folks. It is so important to lift up those experiences, those realities. That is also part of the reason why Trans Day of Visibility was first created. And yet, in the midst of this, so many trans and non-binary folks still feel invisible. And so I return again to the words of M. Jade Kaiser. To all those who feel invisible on this day of trans visibility, to those who are stuck in homes with unsupportive or unknowing parents, partners, or roommates, you who don't get to hear your true name spoken by those you love most, you who must hide, you who keep putting your heart out there only to have it returned back to you, you who have to tuck away all the things that make you feel most you, most seen, most known, because they are not welcome in your home. To all the beloveds for whom life is already felt too hard. You who struggle to find places of rest, of hope, of joy. You who wonder how long you can endure. Please, stay with us, precious one. Though you may feel invisible, you are not invisible, nor are your struggles. The Holy One knows you, sees you, speaks your name with love and tenderness. The Holy One delights in you and accompanies you in struggle, an ever-present source of strength and wisdom. May you sense love's affirmation of your being and becoming. May you sense the divine power in you. May you sense your connection to your trans kin, those who came before, those who live today, and those who are yet to come. There is so much sacredness among us. May you be assured above all that you and your life are precious, deserving of safety, respect, material resources, and love. We keep reminding each other and working together to make it so. Now, most of us, maybe we can understand a little bit on the metaphorical level that experience, those of us who are cisgender, those whose gender lines up with what we were assigned at birth and has always done so. I think there may be some growth that we need to do. I know one of the things that I know many of us have struggled with in the past, in the present, with changing our way of thinking, of breaking open the gender binary, of learning new pronouns and learning new names and things that may not necessarily feel comfortable. And so we too have an opportunity to be reborn again, although the struggle may not be nearly as hard, is not nearly as hard. We are called to change who we are, to live into this transformation as we try to create a societal transformation where love and compassion and care shows up for all people, regardless of gender. It is hard enough. It is hard enough just in the personal work of being trans or non-binary without all of the external pressures of society and the backlash. And so may we as individuals, may we as a community be a place where we can live out that love and compassion and not just acceptance, but affirmation and celebration of the many beautiful ways we show up. Now, I want to offer you for our anthem this morning. It's a song, it's called Daughter Son by Joe Stevens, who is one of the founding members and songwriter for the alt-folk band Coyote Grace, about his experience of being a trans man. And as you listen to the lyrics, I think you can hear in them a transformation, a resurrection. And I'm so glad to be playing with the band, even if when I suggested this, they said, well, how about you sing it? My haircut don't look right, my clothes don't fit just right. Them boy clothes are too big and a girl's too tight. My feet, they look too small, and I ain't very tall. I fight with my mom every time I go to the mall. If I can't be your daughter, son, I ain't nothing at all. My teachers are all thrown, public school is a war zone. Kids won't leave me and my queenie brother alone. Don't pick to be on teams, though I'm scrappy and I'm mean. Those girls, they seem to look right through me. My body has betrayed me, my life, the sun is setting black as night. If I had only known then about those girls, yeah, they saw me alright. I'm obviously a man, but I sit down on the can. I get shots in the leg by my lady's helping hand. My scars run across my chest, Dr. Brownstein is the best. Ain't no one can make me wear a dress. Just because I've done this doesn't mean you have to do it too. You don't know what it's like now, do you? Well, some of you do. You say I'm going to hell, well, I've been down that well, and God is a big boy, he can speak for himself. Don't mess with God's design, but where do you draw the line? How about Botox, dyed pills, facelifts, braces, deforestation, nuclear warfare, laser hair removal, hydrogenated oils, Viagra? Well, I think I'm doing just fine. You're so scared of everything, you shout these rules that you invent. Who are you to force me to believe what you think Jesus meant? I grew up in a disguise, the pain has made me wise. Oh, my people, stand, be seen, and we will rise. My body is my home, I won't ever be alone, and I found my place behind this microphone. Chosen my consequence, I've chosen my name. And I can be your daughter, son, is the one and the same. Our final reading is Springtime Resurrection by Eric Walker Wickstrom. There is a promise here, and as Martin Luther noted, the promise is written not just in books, but in every springtime leaf. It's even closer than that. The question is not whether we believe in resurrection, but whether we have known it. Known it in our own lived experience, seen it in the lives of others, felt it in the world around us. Persephone returns to the world of light. Osiris is resurrected by the power of love of his wife Isis. The phoenix is born anew from its own ashes. Jesus leaves behind the tomb. Snow and ice melt, giving way to new life. The promise of our Unitarian Universalist faith is the promise of these seasons and these stories. Winter is not perpetual. The wheel will keep on turning. The tomb is not the end. We affirm the promise of rebirth, of resurrection, of life's ultimate victory over death, of hope's triumph over hopelessness, not just as some abstract concept, but as the miraculous reality of our lives. This is what we celebrate today. Now, as a way to make this concrete, some of you may have noticed the stones up here on the altar. For those of you joining us on Zoom, perhaps you want to find a stone, or you could even take a piece of paper and draw something that looks like a rock. But I'm going to invite those who are here in the sanctuary to come up and take a stone and think about, and as you do, just to think about a struggle or a challenge in your life that you are facing, that you are navigating at this time. If anyone needs me to bring a rock to them, just raise their hand and I will go ahead and bring one around. But I invite you now to come forward as you are moved to come and take up a stone and take it back to your seat. So I now invite you to close your eyes and hold the stone in the palm of your hand, and then place your other hand over it. Take a slow, deep breath, and exhale just as slowly. And as you think about the struggles, or perhaps one particular struggle in your life, I invite you also to think of what sort of transformation is happening for you in this moment, in this struggle. Is there something being resurrected after coming through a struggle or hardship? Is there something waiting to be born anew in you? When you roll back some stone, perhaps you are emerging from a tomb, more of who you really are. Now take a slow, deep breath again and exhale just as slowly. And think of one or two words that describe that transformation you are in the midst of. Don't force the word or words to appear. Just allow them to surface. remaining open to whatever comes to you through your inner awareness. When you're ready, you may open your eyes and come up and write your word or words on the stone with one of the markers up here. And if you need more time, keep the stone with you and write that word on the stone as soon as you know what the right words are for you. And if you feel called to say what that word is, you can speak it into the microphone. It is by no means required. If you feel like the stone you picked out earlier is too small for your word, you can swap it out for another one. That's fine. Yes, and you can take the stones with you.
I just want to say on this Trans Day of Recognition, I'd like to shout out two people, Natalie Russell and Laser the Boy, one whose music I was privileged to perform with, and another whose music I have listened to quite a bit.
Now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, Now the Green Blade Riseth, which I think appropriate to our service this morning melds that spring metaphor with the Easter metaphors as well.
Now the green blade riseth from the buried grave. Weep that in dark earth many days has lain. Love cries again, and with the dead has been. Love has come again, like wheat that springeth green. They laid him, love and hatred slain, thinking that never he would wake again. Lay in the earth, like grain that sleeps unseen. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. When our hearts are wintry, grieving or in pain, love's touch can call us back to life again. Feels of our hearts like dead and buried in. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green.
As our service comes to a close and we extinguish our chalice, I invite you, as you feel comfortable, to reach out and take a hand or bump elbows, touch a shoulder. If you feel comfortable to make that connection, to those of you joining us online, we invite you to send your energy out to us and each other as we here send that energy back to you. We close again with the words of Eric Walker Wickstrom. There is so much death in our world, literal and figurative, so much pain, so much loss, so many people trapped in tombs, some of their own making and some thrust upon them. Let us go forth from this place determined to roll back those stones, to heal the wounded and to raise the dead. Life has come again. Love has come again. Amen, Ashe, blessed be, and Alleluia.